Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and today's Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas is a very special show because of the guests as well as the theme that we have. And before I open up the forum for all these important panelists, let me say something about the frame that you see with me. And this is movie night, and that invitation will also come to you from Borough President Sharon Lee. So here, let me have the pleasure of welcoming Sharon Lee. Namaste. And with you, we also have Shaaranya and Selvia joining from India home. We want to begin by mentioning that you have been a big supporter for all Queen's residents for several years. And just for those of us who do not recollect, the commitment as well as, I would say, courage, as well as leadership, which Sharon Lee has shown for us. June 23rd, I would read after the cancellation of Borough President election, she says this is an extraordinary time. The Borough's President's office, however, remains open, operational, and fully committed to serving the constituents of Queens. And what she said, she has lived up to it in full force. So let me open up by requesting you to share how you feel this challenging time that we all are facing collectively, and you are having additional challenges and responsibility as Borough President.
Well, Ashok, thank you so much for the invitation to be on your show. I'm delighted to be here with some folks without whom we probably would not be here today. And I feel confident to be able to say that. This year has been an unprecedented year, certainly in many of our lifetimes, if not all of our lifetimes. And one of the takeaways has been working together with organizations that have, like India Home, that have been a consistent and reliable and trustworthy presence in communities for families. We call Queens the Borough of families, and India Home has been kind of a household name, right? And so in times of crisis, in times of need, people know where to go, families know where to go, to specifically organizations and community partners and leaders like India Home, like Selvia, like Shaaranya, and their amazing volunteers and staff. This year has been very, very challenging. It will very possibly get a little harder, a little tougher before things get easier. But at one point, Queens was the epicenter of this ongoing pandemic. And what has been truly inspiring and humbling and cause for hope in terms of our future is just how quickly people got together and stepped up to help those in need who couldn't even call out about their need at a time at extreme danger to ourselves, like the volunteers and staff of India Home, and I'm sure many of the viewers of your show also have either stepped up in times of many crises this year. And that is truly one of the strengths of our borough.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And before we get to the important theme for this show, where we will talk about the significance of being counted. Everyone wants to be counted. If you are not counted, you feel left out, and you don't want to be left out. So you want to participate in census. And what is the significance of supporting this massive, if I say, exercise on the part of government to count you? And it is a privilege to be counted. But there are several privileges, and one of them is as community, there are creative thinkers like Borough President who come up with ideas to bring some zest of life back to us. And in that context, before we talk about census, Sharon Lee, if you tell us something about the idea of this movie night. And I think you can also invite our viewers of ITV Gold for the 30th September movie night.
So this year has been very unconventional and unusual. This summer has been a very unusual summer, especially for a lot of families, especially with for kids. And so, part of a summer in New York is spending time in the parks. But there was a lot of times, and even now, it's not. There's still a lot of precautions we have to take to be safe. So I was delighted to partner with a number of cultural organizations in Queens, like the Museum of the Moving Image, the Hall of Science, Rooftop Films, and we've put together a series of free, complimentary admission movie nights, drive-in movie nights. I don't know if you remember. I remember in my childhood going to drive-in movies. This was a while ago, so it's a bit of a throwback. But it's also a way that we can help maximize safety for families and people to enjoy a flick at a drive-in for free. So every Wednesday is a free movie at the drive-in at the Flushing Meadows Corona Park. That is the backyard for so many families in the parking lot of the Hall of Science. So
Wonderful.
I encourage everybody to go to the movies. You'll have to RSVP in advance. You can go to my website, queensbp.org, and look for the schedule and figure out how to reserve your ticket for your vehicle. And we hope you enjoy, because we should find some joy in this tumultuous year whenever we can find it.
I think I'm really delighted that some of our viewers at least would be able to take advantage of this unique experience. Many people probably might have not even experienced of being in a drive-in theater, so right here in Queens and for free. Now moving towards the importance of being counted and the exercise of census, which began in America way back in many years ago. Maybe it was 1790 or something. But now, what is it that you expect from citizens of Queens and viewers of ITV Gold to pay attention to while they get a form, or in what way census is important and the responsibility that everyone have?
Well, it's a full partnership effort, and so Ashok, if you don't mind, I'd love to also hear from Selvia and Shaaranya. We've been working closely and tirelessly to get out the count.
No, absolutely. I would be happy to hear from them, but I thought you give us the basic outline of the significance of
I'm
census.
happy to. Forgive me. I felt like I was talking so much. So the census, very important. It's every 10 years. It's a 10-minute long survey, but that 10 minutes that you spend to make sure that you and everybody in your home is counted will determine so much of our future for the next 10 years. It will determine the federal resources that come to New York City, to the Borough of Queens, for our schools, for our hospitals, for our roads and bridges, our libraries, our food, especially in times of food insecurity, resources for organizations like India Home, because part of justifying the need is to show the critical mass of people. And if we're not counted, we're essentially rendered invisible. We essentially don't matter. It's really similar to voting, right? If we don't vote, we're basically invisible.
Taking this to the ground level with the help of Selvia, when you are working from India Home to make people aware about being counted and participate in census, what has been your experience in terms of the response of people?
Thank you, Ashok, for inviting us in your show. So thanks for your question. As you know, like India Home serves the seniors, but due to the pandemic, like we are working, we are closing our centers, but we are connecting our seniors and their family members. So we are very extensively working for the census count. So while we are making the phone calls, because in the pandemic, initially we couldn't do the in-person outreach. So we had to make like phone banking, text banking, and we started with our members first. So the good thing I would say, while they're in home, so we were connected not only with the members, we were connected with their family members. So we have encountered the questions like, hey, my parents just come recently, they just came recently, so they don't not need to be in the census, or they are not citizen, or like some of them are even lawful permanent resident. They were saying like, we are not citizens, so we are not accountable in this situation. And also we have so many of the people that we serve are undocumented. So just think of in that situation, how like tough to help those situations, like the seniors or the family members, because they were reluctant to provide any of the information. So we were assuring them there is no citizenship questions. So this is the head count, because like every time while we are they're helping our community, the first questions they are asking, what help we will get from the government. So we were informing them what help gonna get. Like if you just be counted in this census, then this is the fair share of your federal money. You will get the SNAP benefit. You will get the Medicaid, SSI, SSDI, these are the thing. Maybe you are not getting in directly, but indirectly the resources are coming in. Our people are living in overcrowded housing situations. So, and like in one house, they have subtenant and subtenant. Maybe one or two persons is paying like $500, $600. They were thinking like, oh, I'm paying just that amount. But for that one single apartment, like they might have ended up paying like $1,800, $1,900, right? So we were just informing like for the affordable housing, hospitals, and so much thing, like in this pandemic, like people were not even getting the seats in the hospitals, no beds. Why it happened? Because the numbers increases. They didn't like bother about that. So we were informing. And from my end, I can assure like we have 1,531. So as of today, the members that we have, all of them are registered, like they have filled out the census. Now, what we are doing, like we are reaching out to the community that we have reached out by the time of June, who said they will do, they haven't done it. So still we are trying to reach out to them and informing them.
Selvia, I think you are very passionate about what you do, and your love
Thank you.
is also visible through your expression. And there is another question that I want Shaaranya to address. Being from India home, and you are serving all South Asians, in the census, there are questions which also helps them learn where do you come from, how significant that is, the number of South Asians, or if there is some question related to the language that you speak. Talk to us from that point of view, Shaaranya. And also, if I may add, has there been any clarification needed, and your close working with Queensborough President's Office, how that has helped you?
Yeah, I think, the South Asian community, as you know, it's incredibly diverse. Even within India, it's incredibly diverse. When you look at all the countries that compose our subcontinent, the census is the opportunity to show that diversity. So this actually recently, the Sikh community had advocated and worked really hard to get themselves recognized. And so you can actually write your ethnicity and recognize yourself as a Sikh individual. And for myself and for my family, I was able to write that we're Sri Lankan Tamil. So being able to be visible is so powerful, and the census is our opportunity to do that. So I think that, we are oftentimes put in this other category or this box, and we don't know where to categorize ourselves. So this is our opportunity to make a difference and actually be recognized and be put on that form. And, rather than being othered, we have a place in this country, and this is a way for us to show that we are visible and we're here, and we're not going anywhere, and we do deserve the resources that the federal government has for us. So it is really important, and I just want to express my gratitude for how hard I know the Borough President's Office has been working for partnering with organizations like ours and knowing that, we have to get into these hard to count communities and make sure it's incredibly important to get this done. And these kinds of partnerships is what gets it done. We do have a few days left only, but I'm confident we're all going to try our best. And I definitely want to plug you before we do. And my2020census.gov, please do go there. It's so simple to complete it. I took 10 minutes to complete it myself. Please do go. And if you do need any assistance, organizations like ours, we're here to help you to fill out the form.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Shaaranya. And once again, I want to mention for our viewers that we are talking about something which relates to our lives, our future. And being in Queens, we are really grateful that Queens Borough President Sharon Lee has taken time to be with us. And once again, Queens being especially known to be the melting pot. We have many nationalities coexisting here in Queens, which adds beauty to it. But then it also probably adds certain additional challenges for accurate count. On that front, what would you like to say, Sharon Lee?
I would just echo what Shaaranya just said, that every single one of us has a right to be counted, regardless of citizenship. Many of us pay taxes. And even though filling out the census may not mean the government is cutting you a check directly, what it means is we're trying to get the federal resources for our hospitals, our schools, our libraries, our parks, our roads, our bridges. Those are absolutely key, especially right now. We are on the road to recovery and rebuild. It's going to be a long road. It's going to be a long road. It's going to be at least 18 months. We've got some pretty tough economic situations on the city and state level. And so those federal resources are really going to chart the path of our recovery and rebuild. And, even before the pandemic began, we already were shortchanged. By we, I mean Queens and a lot of New York City as well. We have not been getting our fair share. A lot of it has to do with census. And so even if you're not a citizen, but regardless of whether you're a citizen, you still go to the hospitals. Your kids still go to school. You still go to school, right? You still take trains. You still take the buses. You still need those roads paved, right? These are things that are just our everyday. That even though it may not seem like a direct link, it will pave our future for the next 10 years, and it will determine how smooth, what kind of opportunities we have, what kind of schools we can have. It really determines so much. So we cannot overemphasize how important it is. My2020census.gov. And if you don't already, we've got these masks. They're free, absolutely free. And you can see the middle of them have the Queens seal. And on one side, we say, make Queens count. And if you forget, my2020census.gov. On the other side, as you can see, get out the vote. And voting, I just want to, if you'll indulge me, voting is not just one day. There's early voting. We begin to vote October 24. And there's early voting sites. You can look it up, vote.nyc. And just as with the count, we have to be counted. We have to be counted in the vote as well, because that shows our power. We have strength in our numbers. We have strength in our diversity. There has been some challenges in getting out the vote, getting out the count, but I don't think it's necessarily because of our diversity. Actually, some of the undercounted areas in 2010, in the last census, were in areas that did not have the English barrier. It really boils down to trust. It boils down to trust. You're absolutely right. I don't like filling out government forms. I don't like opening my door to anybody, especially in a pandemic. But I'm not going to open my door to anybody unless I know you're coming in. But with trusted partners like India Home, for example, there's a network of families, of people who already trust the work and the volunteers and the staff that has been goodwill and trust built up over years. And so when folks like India Home and folks like leaders in the community, elected officials who people trust and who were democratically elected, and they trust them, and when we say that it is confidential, your citizenship does not matter, this is only to help us, it will hurt us if we are not counted, the messenger is important. And so India Home and many, many, many organizations throughout Queens is doing everything we can to get out the count, but it hinges on trust. And we ask you, trust us. It is critically important to our future.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Shaaranya, Pillai from India Home, Selvia, Sikder from India Home, and also Queen's Borough President Sharon Lee. And as with all these uplifting ideas, we conclude this session. Before we say goodbye and thanks once again to Queen's Borough President Sharon Lee, I want to request you, a lot of people have lost their jobs, many entrepreneurs are facing tough time, but keeping up the spirit is important. Anything on that, about that, which you may want to convey as Queen's Borough President to keep the positive mindset for us?
That's a tough charge to, it's been quite a year, and every week there are situations. I will say that part of what makes us New Yorkers, and in particular Queens, we are quite resilient. And one thing that the pandemic has really magnified is our pre-COVID conditions, our underlying conditions. Like, I've never seen the subway this clean before. I don't know about you, but I mean, they wiped it down. I've never seen the buses this clean. The level of the opening of the schools has really exposed how vulnerable our infrastructure has been for far too long. And a lot of people have known it, but it's been years and years and years of either disinvestment or failure to invest, failure to upkeep. And so these are conditions that were existent before COVID. And what the pandemic has done, I think, has magnified it and almost forced us. It's almost a reckoning, like forcing us. We must do better. We must have hygiene and cleanliness. We must have good ventilation for our schools and for our kids. We must have infrastructure and networks to feed, especially our elders who are homebound in the face of a virus. All of those things have really magnified and almost recalibrated what our essentials are, who we are at our core, our essential workers who we simply cannot function without, our transit workers, our grocery store workers, our delivery workers, our hospital workers, our EMT workers. It's really magnified and crystallized what is important, what is essential. Here are the points of exposure and vulnerability that we as a society must fix. And I think that's an opportunity. It's tough. A lot of us have felt tremendous, tremendous loss in multiple ways, both loved ones, health, as well as security and economic security, food security, housing security. There's a lot of instability. But I think I do believe, and it may be naive, but I do believe in every challenge there is opportunity. And I think that is one opportunity here. How we recover, how we rebuild, what standards we insist upon in terms of how we live and how we function, and the services that government must provide to our families. I think that's one thing that the pandemic has magnified and forced us to reckon with.
Absolutely. These are real empowering and inspiring words coming from Queen's Borough President Sharon Lee. Every adversity brings opportunity with it, and collectively we are going to focus, and we are focusing on that, and we will overcome this challenge. That confidence comes to us by talking to Shaaranya Pillai, Selvia Sikder, as well as Queen's Borough President Sharon Lee. I thank all of you, and I thank our viewers also for being a part of this conversation. And once again, being counted is important, and how to be counted, all that we have shared with you. So do your part. Thank you very much, Ashok, Vyas.